The next country in the region is China. China is a rising superpower. How we can say that it is a rising superpower? Because now China contains the largest economy of world by PPP GDP, and their PPP GDP is $24 trillion. And the nominal GDP of China is $15.2 trillion. China is the largest exporter of the world and second largest importer of the world. China contains the world's largest banking sector with $40 trillion, and 4 of the largest banks of world are situated in China. It is estimated that 18% of the total wealth of the world is contained in China, and it also contains the highest number of rich people and the most billionaires of the world. China has a largest standing army, People's Liberation Army, and second largest defense budget of the world. With respect to communication, China has the largest bullet train network. Now China is not only engaged in these expansions but also in the technological warfare, especially with respect to Huawei technologies, which were banned in United States, and US is also pressurizing Europe to ban that technology, the 5G technology, because they have a fear of this technological success of China, which goes far beyond the American or the Western technologies. Then in the field of cyber warfare, in the field of space militarization, and then we see the trade war, the economic warfare between US and China, initiated by US back in 2017, is now affecting United States more than China. And then the military conflicts in the South China Sea, Indian Ocean, and especially Persian Gulf. Why Persian Gulf is so important in this region? You must have heard about several news talking about Persian Gulf and Iranians taking an initiative which is known as Peace Initiative, and then America has also announced that they are very sensitive about the Persian Gulf. Why Persian Gulf is so important? Because most of the imports and exports of the world which are related to the Gulf countries pass through Persian Gulf. And if Persian Gulf is affected, now you must have remembered, as I was talking about CPEC, and I mentioned a concept of Malacca dilemma. Malacca dilemma, if you understand the Malacca dilemma, it will be very easy for you to understand what is happening on Persian Gulf. Why China is sensitive about Persian Gulf so much as they were sensitive about Malacca dilemma. Because in Malacca dilemma, if the Chinese imports or exports or general transportation of China could be hampered for even one day, it will be disastrous for the overall production of China. Therefore, they find out a separate land route through BCIM and CPEC, which directly connects China to the Indian Ocean. But from there, the Chinese trade ship needs a route, a maritime route, to connect to the Gulf countries, and it passes through Persian Gulf. So if Persian Gulf poses some kind of threat to China, it means that there is not any alternate route, and they must secure Persian Gulf to secure their trade, to secure their strategic interest. And that is one of the reasons that we have seen that China has invested $400 billion in Iran. They are, enlarging their partnership with Iran. They're depending on Iran, instead of the fact that US is very sensitive about that, and they are threatening all the countries who are going to involve in any kind of relationship with Iran. But China is doing that to safeguard their strategic interest. So this is the situation of Persian Gulf. Then we see the diplomatic efforts of China in the shape of BRI, which is known as the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative have 6 corridors and 1 maritime Silk Road. 138 countries of the world are involved with China, and the completion date of this project is 2049. Before going towards the next country, I would like to mention another important point here, that recently China have announced that we are going to take another initiative for ensuring peace in Middle East. And for that initiative, which is a kind of forum which will be joined by several countries, but the eligibility criteria to join that forum is to ratify the Iran nuclear deal. Now this is very clear. The two blocks that I was talking about, this formation is very clear here, because the only countries of the world which are against the Iran nuclear deal are United States and Israel. So now all other countries have given a very clear chance by China to join China in this initiative. So now this will draw a kind of red line, who is standing with China and who is not. The next country is Iran, which is on the southwestern border of Pakistan. Iran has resisted the US pressure for the last 40 years. After the revolution of Iran of 1979, not only Iran was pressurized by the Western countries through sanctions, but it was engaged in a devastating war which continued for 8 years. Starting from 1980s, the Iran-Iraq war continued for 8 years, and in that war the Western countries were supporting Iraq, and even chemical weapons were used against Iran. The nation has not only survived the war, but they have come out ever stronger after every aggressive move by the United States. So that's why we say that in the last 40 years, Iran has not only survived the maximum pressure campaign of US, but they have come out even stronger, and now they are in a position to challenge not only the countries of the region, but the United States herself. Iran has faced the toughest American sanctions. Iran has faced a proxy war which is continuously going on. Iran contains the proxies as well, and through the use of proxies, Iran is safeguarding their strategic interest in the region. And now we have seen that militarily, Iran has technologically, militarily, in the field of cyber warfare, and economically, Iran has come out as a stronger, as a surviving country. And recently, the situation between US and Iran has escalated after 3rd January 2020, when General Qasem Soleimani was assassinated by United States in Iraq. After that, Iran has clearly given an ultimatum to the US forces to get out of the region, because otherwise they will be attacked anywhere, wherever they are found, because the foreign forces are not required. Not only Iran, but Iraq also passed a resolution in the parliament of Iraq that we don't need American forces to secure Iraq any further. So you must leave Iraq as soon as possible. In the aftermath of this attack on Qasem Soleimani, Iranian parliament even announced that now Iran considered American forces as terrorist forces. It means that wherever an American troops are killed by Iran, Iran can claim under the international law that they have killed terrorists. They have not killed any regular army. And now you can see that how this region is on a flashpoint of burning. We just need a kind of trigger, and all of this region will be involved in that. So Iran has stood on their own foot for the last 40 years, but now they have stronger powers like China and Russia standing behind them. As I was talking earlier, that China has announced the massive deal of $400 billion investment in Iran. Obviously, China will safeguard their investment. And not only this, but we have seen the cooperation of Russia is growing with Iran. On the 18th of October this year, when the UN sanctions were removed under the JCPOA, Russia has stated that they are going to engage with Iran in the important export of arms. Not only this, but previously Russia has announced that Russia is going to build a total number of 8 nuclear power plants in Iran. So this kind of a strategic partnership between Iran, Russia and China is growing. On the northwestern border of Pakistan, we have Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a country that has been engaged in war since the year 1979. First, they have fought with the Soviet troops from 1979 to 1988, and then Afghanistan was controlled by warlords with the name of Taliban and some other factions. Taliban even established their own government in 1996, and then we see that President Bush of United States initiated global war on terrorism, which started in the year 2001 and continued and still continues, we can say that, until they have reached an agreement in Doha, which was signed between the commander of Taliban, Abdul Ghani Brother, and the US ambassador to Afghan peace, Zalmir Khalilzad. So this deal shows a kind of new trend in the Afghan-US relations, but how far they both are sincere in carrying out this agreement remains to be seen. There are many players of the region who are involved in Afghanistan, like Russia, Iran, and Pakistan, India, and USA, and Saudi Arabia. Although all of these countries now want peace in Afghanistan except India, because China is now building a railway network which will connect Iran, Afghanistan, and China through Kazakhstan and Central Asian states. Therefore, China is the country advocating for peace in Afghanistan. Pakistan, who has always talked about peace in Afghanistan because it is our neighboring country, Pakistan is the most affected country by this kind of political chaos in Afghanistan. Therefore, we want peace in Afghanistan more than any other country. But India, on the other hand, is making several efforts to sabotage the peace, and the recent report which I have mentioned earlier have also elaborated how India is involved in the terrorist activities inside Afghanistan and backing the militants. So this was about the neighboring countries of Pakistan, and we have discussed their foreign policies and domestic policies which are affecting this region. And now we will talk about other influential countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Russia.